With regard to, you have to think, where is the most likely place where cash is going to move in the future? And that's what you should be looking at now. In my opinion, it's commodities. Commodities, and more specifically, silver is my favorite asset on the planet. I've been telling people this for years. I think it's, if you just look at a few metrics here, how does Greg come up with these things he says? I don't pull these out of a hat, okay? So you got the Dow Jones Industrial Average gold ratio. I urge people to do their homework, look up the Dow gold ratio, and then look at the gold silver ratio. If you look at these ratios, you can see why I say that silver is the most undervalued commodity on the planet. I told people over a year ago now that the banks were in trouble. Why? Three things were going on: no deposits, no loans, no deals. And then subsequently, we saw how this manifested itself with the regional institutions who are now being chopped up and absorbed by the larger ones. Now, the larger institutions, they're not immune either. The larger institutions are seeing massive outflows, okay, massive capital outflows. And so there's a big issue there too. So the banking system, again, we're going to face another crisis. Oh my God, I can't believe that, in the banking system. And it's going to come apart too. People need to look, with regard to, you have to think, where is the most likely place where cash is going to move in the future? And that's what you should be looking at now. In my opinion, it's commodities. I think there's a very high potential, because again, think about it. Cash is just going to move, in my view, at least, and I think a lot of people into commodities. So if you got the Dow 6,000, 1-to-1 gold 6,000, and a potential 10 or 15-to-1 for silver, and you can see where we're going with this. I've been telling people for months and months, commodities exposure, gain commodities exposure. And if you want to have it in your hand, then, if you had to pick one, I'm going to tell people it's silver. It's my favorite of all time. I think if I had to pick how I would say silver 1, gold 2, platinum and palladium both probably a close third. I wouldn't say I like one mostly over the other at this point. Not too many people hold platinum and palladium. I mean, some do. I have some in my portfolio, physical stuff, but it's probably a very small percentage of my I probably 5% of my metals portfolio is platinum and palladium. Okay. The most is going to be silver, second gold. I've been calling this institution out for a decade. I've been telling them that they're public enemy number one. I've been telling people that, they should, we got to get rid of this organization. Central banks are a curse upon this world. And unless we can free ourselves from these institutions, we're all in a lot of trouble. We're all in a lot more trouble moving forward as they extort more and more control. I mean, if you want to bet on the institution, I don't think they're going anywhere. No matter who sits behind the Resolute desk or anything else, it doesn't matter. They're too powerful. They have too much influence. They had planned all this out step by step decades ago. And we are just living in the side effect of what they've set forth. Unfortunately, it's a terrible, terrible thing. Like I said, if I get going with the Federal Reserve and central banks, I will probably explode. I can't stand these organizations. I have the deepest, I don't hate anybody or most things, but I hate the Federal Reserve, and I hate central banking as a whole, because I see what they're doing to the people of the world. This is all deliberate. I think there's a strong possibility that they are going to at least attempt to introduce when we say gold backed or a commodity backed, I think most people have the wrong perception of how this is most likely going to play out. This is a really good question. Most people believe that they're going to have a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not going to happen. If in fact this does occur, and I believe there's a high probability here, it's going to be a fractional backing, mostly fiat. Unfortunately, we're never going to go back to the world is not ever going to be allowed to go back to a commodity-backed currency or a wealth-based system. It's always going to remain somewhat debt-based, and that's exactly, unfortunately, what I believe is going to occur here, one way or the other, with regard to gold backing the BRIC system. But a lot of people I speak to, they don't understand that at all. They say, oh, no, this is going to be fully, no, it's not. I mean, could I be wrong? Yes, but I doubt it, because they would have to revalue the price of gold multiples higher than what it is today. And I don't see that happening. So it's going to be, unfortunately, a fractional system. That's the most likely scenario moving forward. And, people, I mean, this is a threat to the dollar. There's no doubt about it. The dollar, as the world reserve currency, is clearly under threat. And that should really worry people, because, again, the enforcement arm of the Federal Reserve is the United States military, including its nuclear arsenal. And they will point that weapon at anyone, inward or outward. So I tell people, be very, very careful what you wish for. We got to take down the central banking system itself. We got to replace this. This is an institution, collectively, central banks working together here, that, in my view, is public enemy number one, and they need to go. Why do we need their debt-based system? It's an unbelievable thing. They run it all, as I was saying, and they produce one product, and that product is debt, and that's it. I mean, the cash that we work for, it's not ours. It's owned by the issuing central bank, in this case the Fed, owed back to the Fed, plus interest they create out of thin air. When people go off to work every day, they work for the privilege to borrow the funds from the central bank. It's an incredible situation. It's very twisted. So we got to get rid of central banking. And how do you end central banking? It's very simple. People don't understand how easy it is. To end a central bank, let's say the Federal Reserve, let's stick with that one, for example, you prevent them from issuing one single dollar of debt, just one. Once you can prevent that from happening, the central bank system as a whole starts to crack. If we can take down one central bank, we could take down the rest of them in a domino effect. I mean, just as an example here, we had this whole debt ceiling debate recently, all the panic, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, out every day on CNBC and Bloomberg, we got to do it, we got to raise, but our politicians telling us how important it is, because again, they know the system, it must function, it's debt-based. Without this system, the whole system collapses, and then we could move on to something new. But I mean, there would be economic pain on a humongous scale, transitioning from a central bank debt-based system to a wealth-based system, but there's going to be pain anyway. I mean, people are suffering right now today, and the pressure on the middle class is pressure. I've been telling people for 10 years, if you're a member of the middle class, you have a target tattooed on your face, and you can't get it off unless you really understand the system, know what's happening to you, and then take action against it. So that's where we stand, and I think, unfortunately, like going back to this BRICS thing, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think it's going to play out the way people believe it's going to.